Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the latest Walkabout Talkabout. I'm Lucas Martell, creator of Walkabout, and I've got with me Bill Young, who actually I'll take my first putt and then I'll let Bill introduce himself because I have a feeling that I'll just sort of butcher it. And Bill wanted to play the hard version of Meow Wolf, so I think he's been practicing. I think he's got it in for me.
I've been practicing a little bit. Hi, everybody. Bill Young, head of games over at Amazon with representing Twitch and a group called BPS. And I am going to take a little sideways route here.
You see, you have been practicing because... I have to admit, I haven't gotten a chance. So we launched Meow Wolf like 2 months ago, and we were so involved, like leading up to it. Played it a ton, and then I haven't got a chance to do it for a little while. So today's kind of an interesting sort of industry day. I don't know exactly when this is going to drop, but today is the launch date for Apple Vision Pro. So I am really curious to get your hot take or cold take or whatever you've got on just sort of like it's who knows how it will age, but let's just spit out some hot takes and see how they go.
Yeah, I mean I'm pretty much in the camp of being a believer. I think it's going to take a long time, but it gets there's a lot of chatter about the cost, that it's $3,500 and that's just nobody's ever going to buy that. I don't think they're really supposed to. I think it's like a dev kit. It's meant for developers who are trying to get smart on the platform. Obviously the price is going to come down. It'll become more consumer focused eventually, but I don't think that's really the point right now. So judging it based on any sort of like unit sales against consoles or previous Apple devices and stuff, I think is just kind of missing the point entirely. Yeah,
I do have to kind of. I had the exact same thought, and when I first put it on, it's sort of like it's sort of like it's some really really cool tech, but there's still some things that are still getting figured out. Oh, you go first because you won that hole. There's obviously still some things that are evolving, and they really need to get it in the hands of developers, just like they kind of always do. I guess I kind of found it a little... Ooh, nice. I found it almost a little odd that it didn't sort of like specifically say, man, you are going to smoke me. I love it. I don't feel so bad. Coming into... There we go.
Hey, there it is. Yeah, well, it's out as of this morning, so I'm sure we're going to start seeing a lot of feedback and proper developer reviews, probably starting this afternoon. I've already seen a bunch on Twitter.
Yeah, and I've been following, and I was reading a bunch of the ones that dropped once they lifted the embargo, like last Tuesday or whatever, it was really interesting to kind of hear everyone else's. So, have you got a chance to play it yourself or play around with it yourself?
I haven't yet, but know a few developers who are on the pre-orders, so hopefully they'll let me give it a shot.
Yeah, totally. Well, I guess I'm also kind of... Oh, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was going to say, this hole's kind of difficult, obviously. This is like one of the harder ones on the course.
Oh, yeah.
One method I like is to go to the right there and then just try to putt. And if you're lucky, you land on that platform, and then you can putt over through the cave. Yeah. My daughter goes right for the flag.
Oh yeah, she's just
she's goes
right or die. Yeah, straight for it.
I'm gonna try the right.
Yeah, that's usually my tactic as well. Although the other thing is that I'm one of the reasons I'm going to blame that part of the reason that I'm kind of bad at the game is that usually we're testing it and we're trying to intentionally see what happens. Like, oh, you got to hit it over into this weird corner to see. So like I spend less time doing the actual like trying to get good at the game and more time trying to break it, which does not equate to real world skill in any stretch of the imagination. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm also. I think the other thing that is probably even more interesting to me is sort of like where that's going to lead the VR/spatial computing industry, of just because it does feel like, I mean, Meta has really been sort of kind of on their own for the most part, just because they were so massively outselling. And I mean, I personally have to say that I love competition. I love people coming in with some other ideas. As a developer, it makes it challenging, especially when it's starting to use the hand tracking or use systems that aren't quite as ubiquitous. But still, it's way better to have something that is evolving and changing and getting better as opposed to stagnating. Because, I mean, that's the thing that we've noticed, that anytime there's something new that comes out, even like when the Quest 3 came out with, mixed reality was the big thing with that, it's still people getting in the headsets and getting excited and talk about it. And, I think we had a lot of people actually just hand down their Quest 2s to another friend or family member. So that, because if they bought a new one, it's like, it seemed like a lot of the folks who bought Quest 3s were ones who had already gotten the 2s. So I know that you've been sort of like, have you been very actively involved on the VR side of things, or do you tend to focus on more traditional gaming?
Really focused more on traditional for the last few years anyway, just and really to be blunt, games that have either high replayability, which makes them great for Twitch. Games. It's really an interesting conundrum for game developers who want to be successful on Twitch. There's types of games that do really well, and that's games like Fortnite and League and Apex and things like that. They are high replayability games where every time you play that game that's the same over and over again, it's different. And that's what makes it entertaining. And something like this actually is just like that as well, because you have a fixed course, but it's going to be different every single time you play. And it gives those types of games also give the creator, and by that I mean the streamer, the opportunity to express their personality as well and to interact with chat. Games like Assassin's Creed or Last of Us, things like that, big narrative, titles. They'll be the biggest games in the world for a very long time, but they'll be the biggest game on Twitch for 3 days, right? And then they just disappear. Like those single player narrative games tend to basically disappear on the charts very rapidly. So that I don't think that's ever going to really change, because I think that the reason people watch other people play video games is for the entertainment value, less than maybe like learning how to play the game or finding cheats or finding better ways to get through level X. It's really more about just like sort of this passive viewing of somebody else who is also very entertaining. And by passive, I don't mean completely passive, because clearly you have the opportunity to engage with the creator via chat and other viewers and things like that. But it's for the last, since I've been at Twitch, and that was 2016 that I started there. Been primarily focused on pretty traditional titles, but prior to that, I was at a company called Max Play. We had an Austin office actually back then. And for a while there, so basically Max Play was like a cloud-based game development suite. So think Google Docs for game development. And so VR was a big part of that, a big part of the focus. Okay, very cool. All right, I just got a headset, low power. I've been doing a lot on it today. Let me don't mind me for just a moment if you want to take your shot while I just no problem. Find a power cable and plug in. By the way, on the last hole, I suffered my very first VR injury. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was. What happened? I was swinging as hard as I could and rammed my hands into a foosball table that's next to our garden. Just now while we were recording? No, this was about 2 weeks ago. Okay. And I slammed it. Oh. I still have marks on both of my hands from it. I'm sorry to hear that, but we vehemently deny any responsibility for how you move through your space or the fact that you have a ceiling fan installed. Well, I still haven't smashed any TVs or broken any windows, so I feel like I'm ahead of the game still. Yeah,
I feel like I actually bump into things more than anything because so much of the time when I'm just developing, I'm just sitting at my desk and constantly putting my headset on for like 20 seconds, taking it off like probably 20, 30 times throughout the day. So I feel like I'm constantly just like bashing my knuckles on like, the corner of my desk or the chair, or just, I get turned around so easily. I feel like this game I should have done, usually I just put a mat underneath my feet and then I just know where I'm at, but that requires you to be like, oh yeah, you're not doing that if you're sitting at the computer, like working within the engine or something like that. So
yeah, that's a good idea though. I haven't ever thought of doing that.
Oh yeah, that's like, I know I did that on a couple of other games that I was playing that were more physical too, just because you could, I mean, I don't have a huge room, I have a decent enough amount of space, but yeah, I would. There was even one time where, I think I bashed my hand really hard into a ceiling fan just because I totally forgot where I was and forgot how low that thing was hanging. So, yeah. I
mean, that's kind of a good sign, right? Like you're so immersed that you forget that you're actually in a physical space.
Yeah, you forget that you can injure your physical body. But yeah, I mean, going back to the what you're just talking about on the, ooh, nice. Yeah, going back to what you're just talking about on the streaming side of things, it feels like we've gotten. I think that VR streaming is still just such a challenge.
It is.
There's not a whole lot of people that do it.
Almost.
But it's such a small community that does it. But we have seen a decent number of folks pick up the game, and I do think there's something about you can. It feels like it's a good cool down game. Like, or maybe you're waiting on folks to come in or something like, oh, well, let's hop in and play around while we wait for everyone to join. They can just sort of hop in whenever and catch up however you want to let them do it. And it really does from a streamer standpoint, it lets them sort of just talk with people or interact with the community. It's not like you're trying to multitask and like play like a more hardcore game. You're able to just sort of have your feet up and kind of be responding as anyone's chiming in, which has been really, really interesting to sort of watch people play it in that way. So
yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of success with streaming VR live on Twitch. It's really I'd say for most streamers it's just too much. It's a really difficult proposition, and because just being like first of all, there's not tech that's already created to help you do that. It would have to be something that the streamer kind of cobbled together themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, OBS does a great job, and the best ones that I've seen specifically for our game, because you can put the camera behind you, is when they basically they shoot themselves on a green screen and then have the camera in a third person, so you actually see the real streamer in the physical world, which that is a super cool thing to see, but it does require a lot of setup on the streamer's part. Yeah. And I mean, just the physical space, you got to have a green screen in order for it to work. So
yeah, and you also if you're going to be interacting with chat or doing any of the other things that you're doing, it's difficult to do that. But that's maybe another area where the Vision Pro could help, because you technically should be able to do all that much easier than you can right now.
More multitasking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is my least favorite hole. This is the one I'm worst at. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. I typically try to get it up between those two rocks.
Yeah, that sounds like excuses is what I hear, but...
Yeah, that's what I hear too. The smart play is to go right down on this platform and then just go over, which is probably where I'm going to end up anyway when I put it up there and hit the rocks and it bounces back down.
That's what I figure, is that if I don't make it, I'm just going to end up where I want to be anyways. So
here we go. We'll give it a try.
Might as well. Nice.
Nope.
Oh.
Yep. That's pretty much what happens every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this course doing the hard mode was a challenge, because we were still working out the mechanics of the easy course so late in the game, because it was just so much new tech unlike almost all the other courses where we usually finish gameplay both for hard and easy mode like super early on.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Wow, good one.
It's got
nice work.
It's got legs, maybe. Hit the magic spot. Close enough. I can't let you embarrass me too much in our own game.
Oh, see, now I have to readjust myself because I'm standing next to the wall. Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
But it's also just been a very interesting time for like the wider games industry as well. Just with sort of like, it feels like, I mean, I come from the film world, so I haven't really been like super active on the industry side of things to really sort of like have a great perspective. But it does seem to me that like games just blew up so much during the pandemic, and it feels like now we're maybe in a bit of a corrective phase a little bit, because even though gaming is having such a great time, yeah, I know it's been challenging in the industry with a lot of layoffs, and I don't know, do you have any strong opinions or hot takes with just sort of like what's going on with the wider games industry right now?
Well, I think here, let me put this out real quick. I feel like to some degree there's a fair amount of fashion involved. And by that I mean when one company, especially in the bigger companies, when they start laying off, it gives sort of cover for other companies to do the same.
Yeah.
And obviously not every business is in the exact same situation, but it seems like when layoffs start, it like cascades and becomes this thing that everybody does. And we've seen literally I think almost every major game publisher go through this, and tech company over the last 6 months or so. I hope it's settling down, but it's such a dichotomy. It's like on one hand you have 2023 possibly being, from a content perspective, one of the greatest years for games.
Yeah.
If not the greatest year for games, if you like really look at it. To so many people losing their jobs, it almost is difficult to make sense of.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so. Again, coming from the film side of things, I've also like the writer's strike and everything that's been going on in Hollywood over the last sort of like 9 months or so has made things really interesting. I almost wonder if there's even a little bit of that starting to kind of ripple through into the wider games industry as well, just because it seems like a lot of those, they're different studios and different. It's still all the media and entertainment business though. So it just feels like there could be there might be a little bit of crossover there even happening. But yeah, it's been such a weird year, and I feel like we've been really, really lucky, because I have a hard time really grasping how a lot more of the AAA studios work, just because we're in a very different boat where we're now sort of constantly putting out new content, and as a live service game, it's just a fundamentally different model than spending 4 or 5 years on 100 million, 200 million on a single title. It's kind of mind-boggling how that works, because even in the film world, I guess you get that, especially in the animation world a lot, though, is that typically something's in production for about 10 years before it actually or it's in development for 5 years, and then it goes into pre-pro, and it takes another 5 years for it to actually get made a lot of the time. So I guess it's not that different. But yeah, I just feel very lucky that we've been sort of like kind of in a different boat than most of the other, the big AAA studios.
Yeah. And you also have a platform and a title that stands out quite a bit. Whereas if you look at PC and console gaming right now, there is like this, especially in 2023, just this never-ending onslaught of 90 plus Metacritic games that take 50 hours to complete. So gamers just don't have time to play all this amazing content, or buy it for that matter. Our backlogs are pretty ugly at the moment.
Oh yeah, even my Steam library is cliched in just how many unplayed games just sitting in there that I bought on sale and haven't gotten to yet.
You'll play them eventually, right?
That's what the people keep telling me. I have yet to sort of see evidence of that, but I'm also kind of curious to get your take on sort of more of the indie world, because I think on the VR side of things, it's been a really interesting place for a lot of. The VR space has been kind of a safe haven for a while for a lot of indie developers, just because it was so new, and a lot of the AAA studios or even larger publishers haven't entered the space, so it's just a little more accessible to release a game commercially, even self-publishing. But I'm kind of curious what the trend is looking like now for more traditional games in that indie mid-sized studio space.
What? I have to think that all of these layoffs are going to lead to an indie revolution.
Yeah. It always comes in waves, doesn't it? A big studio falls.
Yeah, and a lot of people out of work, they're not just going to sit on their hands, they're going to go get with their friends and make a game.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also... this will be a good question for GDC and DICE, as I'm just doing a little bit more. Just like, I feel like I'm finally sticking my head up for the first time in a couple of years, just because the making of everything has been quite a get through there. Yeah, just because making this has really taken sort of like 100% of my attention. So I just feel like I haven't quite poked my head up for air. But yeah, I'm really kind of curious to see what the next couple of years holds for just more interesting types of games. And what are you playing at the moment?
I'm playing Cocoon on the Switch.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun. I don't know if you've played that before, but it's kind of like it's kind of somewhere between Monument Valley and like Ico in a way.
Okay.
Really challenging puzzles. I get super stuck for like 2 days, and then put the control. Oh, nice putt. I get stuck, and then I come back, and then for whatever reason, when I come back, it's super clear to me. And like, how did I not know how to do that? But you get stuck in your ruts, and you think you know how to solve a puzzle, so you keep trying to do the same things over and over again, and then sometimes you just need to get away from it. But then on the Steam Deck, which I just bought about a month or so ago, I've been playing Dave the Diver, and really fun game, but I kind of feel like I chose the wrong first game to play on the Steam Deck.
Okay.
It's a super fun game, but I wish I would have reversed those two games. Like, I wish I would have bought Cocoon on the Steam Deck and Dave the Diver on Switch, just because like, I don't feel Dave the Diver's super fun game. Obviously, it's fantastic, but like, it's an OLED screen on the Steam Deck. Like, it's I want to play something that's like really challenging on the graphics end for that. And I just I think next up, I'm not sure what I'll play, but I want to play something that is a little bit more demanding on that front.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but then on VR, I'm pretty much just playing Walkabout Golf and some Super Hot every now and then.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been going through. I rarely get a chance to like fully sort of like sink my teeth into and spend more than a couple of hours in any one game. So I do find myself, just with where I'm at personally, I tend to spend a lot of time just like hopping into like trying to play an hour of like almost everything just to get a feel for what's out there. But it's almost more on almost more on just the industry side of things, and I am really looking to some time when I'll finally be able to like really sink my teeth into a couple of those. Like, I love it. I really want to come back to it. I would highly recommend it sounds like if you're into puzzle games. Oh, nice. If you're into puzzle games, have you tried The Last Clockwinder?
No, I have not.
That is, in my opinion, probably the best VR puzzle game.
Oh, really? Okay.
The mechanic of it is so specific, where you're sort of like you're performing actions to like you have to essentially hit a button and sort of like clones yourself, but like on a loop, like a delay pedal or something like that. And so then you perform part of the action, and you perform the next part of the action, the next part of the action. So it has all of the puzzling of just a lot of other more traditional puzzling games, but it also has that physical interaction in a way that just works really, really well in VR. Fisherman's Tale is another one that did a great job. It's like it's got really unique puzzles that only sort of work in VR, and it's taken advantage of sort of differences in scale to make it yeah, to just give you sort of like a really unique experience. It's super fun. Yeah, I think.
Well, I think beyond the indie studios popping up because of the layoffs, I think you're also going to see a lot of work in UEFN.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like there's you whooped me.
Oh, by one. That's okay. That's pretty dang close. That was actually good. I don't think that I would have done that if you hadn't gone first on a couple of holes and sort of shown me how to do it. So,
oh, you're very kind.
but you were saying UEFN.
Yeah, I think because there's such a low barrier to get something stood up. Like if you have an idea for a game, you could have it by the end of the day or the end of the week. You could have a playable, at least early vision of what the game might be, and then you could just start tweaking it and working on it, and and publish it and put it in front of literally 350 million registered users or however many they claim to have these days. It's a remarkable audience. So your dev costs will be low, your time will be low, and possibility of making money is there. So I think you're going to see quite a few developers come out of that world as well.
Yeah, it's definitely it has gotten so much easier, and I think that one of the things that I'm hopeful for is that VR reaches that point, because I will say that VR right now it's still changing so fast. And like we were just talking before about Apple and like not having controllers, is sort of like you got to completely rewrite everything, and even a lot of the APIs around how you do stuff in VR is just not very mature yet, and it changes a lot. So I look forward to sort of like a little bit of stability, but at the same time, it also feels it's a really cool feeling to sort of be on the very sort of like sometimes painfully cutting edge of all of that, and sort of like kind of being able to sort of like be on the ground floor and sort of like help decide what are those interactions that work and that make sense, or trying to find, that it's definitely sort of like a very fundamentally different set of rules of what works in VR versus like you could never do anything like this in a flat game. I mean, there's some other great like mini golf games, but they are much more fast paced, just fundamentally different. Like you can't have something with such a slow, casual pace outside of VR. I don't feel I can have it work. So.
Well, what sort of update cadence do you guys have? Like, how often do you put out new courses?
So we're doing a new course about one. Yeah, so we do a new course about every 6 to 7 weeks.
Okay.
The way we set it up is actually almost more like a TV model, where at any given time it takes about 12 months for a course to come out. And at any given time, there's probably 10 or so courses that are in development, some at the very, very early concepting stage all the way up through final finish. So we have a pipeline that we do updates at least every 6 to 7 weeks. And then we are starting to now work on some more of the... We've had to rewrite a good chunk of the game because it started off as a solo. I did the initial release of the game as just a solo project. But now we've had to go back and rewrite all of my terrible code in order to make it something that a team of people can work on and that we can build on, because it was only designed to do like one thing, and any changes that wanted to be made or any add-ons were like very much sort of like going in and rewiring things as opposed to building it to be extensible. So we spent a good bit of time, and this next year we'll really start to be able to take advantage of that and see some new stuff. This was actually one of the courses that really sort of took advantage of a bunch of those new systems that have been added under the hood, that hopefully a lot of people, like no one should have ever noticed that there was new tech under the hood, but pretty much everything was rewritten to do stuff like this, where now you can change what happens when the ball goes in the water, or when the size of it changes, or multi-balls or anything like that. So it feels like we're finally unlocked.
And this course in particular, obviously, is a partnership with Meow Wolf, but that opens up, just conceptually opens up quite a number of different doors to other partnerships. Or I assume in that like 12-month window that you're looking at right now, some of those are partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we try to do at least one or two sort of like licensed courses or partnership courses. This was the first time that we actually really worked from a creative standpoint, hand in hand with especially Katie Kennedy, who designed the Numina exhibit in Denver. But she was actually in there with us designing, whereas the other licensed courses had been more like we would consult with them, but they wouldn't actually be in VR, sort of like modeling things or really art directing things. So it definitely gives, I love how it gives this course a very different feel that is very Katie, and it's very unlike other things that we've done before. I don't think we would have gotten to this point on our own. So it's really cool how it sort of stretches us.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I have spent time just flying around, like not even playing, just flying around and looking at everything. It's just there's so much.
Yeah, totally. Well, I know that you have to get back to things, but thank you so much for taking some time and just hanging out and playing around with us. So
yeah, of course, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything at all that you're wanting to mention or plug or anything else before we sign off?
No, I'll just say hello to my golf partner, Delilah, my daughter. She was very excited to hear about this happening today. So I just want to say hey there.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.